Delhi cavalry was Ottoman light cavalry units. They were sometimes confused in historical records with the Akinsis. Main difference between Delis and Akinsis were that Akinsis were mobilized on call and they had their own means of living in peacetime, and Delis were in the entourage of Balabs, Governor-General, or Sankak Beys, provincial governors. They were part of the personal guard of these very high-level Ottoman officials in the Rumelia. In Turkish, literally Deli meant mad head. The name is such due to these men's unthinkable courage and the way they dare where normal soldiers could not. Any other theory to explain the origin of this unit's name is historically invalid. There are two such very common invalid theories. First argues that in the Ottoman army, even madmen had their own regiment named Deli, maniacs, the riskers of the soul who allowed themselves to be used as battering rams. However, name Deli was given to those fighters due to their willingness to fight bravely. As one author put it, a more accurate translation of Deli from Ottoman Turkish would be brave or even heroic rather than a maniac, mental or lunatic. Second theory argues that name Deli actually came from word Delil, which literally meant guide. However, this was also proved to be wrong by prominent Turkish historians. Delis were very useful in battles in the heyday of Ottoman military might. They attacked enemy formations without hesitation. They were all mounted on horses. They launched raids deep into enemy territory, acted as reconnaissance forces and gathered intelligence about enemy status, destroyed enemy food, water, weapon resources, created terror on the enemy side. An army being hit several times by Deli raids would lose a lot materially and psychologically before they have met the main Ottoman army on the battlefield. Participation to the Deli cavalry was exclusive. To become a Deli, one needed to prove courage and skill. Famous Byzantine historian Chalcondyles noted in his monumental work that one needed to be victorious against 10 mounted warriors to become a Deli. 50 or 60 Delis gathered under the banner of Adilabasi, head mad head. They had records of their soldiers, and as seen in all other Ottoman military units, they were subject to strictest discipline and were always controlled with iron fist of their commanders. When given chance, Delis were very enthusiastic to show their loyalty to Ottoman Sultan by acts of courage, sometimes leading to injuring or killing themselves. In later centuries this was banned by the Sultan himself, and Delis were forbidden to perform such acts in shows. Delis had no single type of clothing. However, their appearance was distinctive, and hallmarks of this outlook were the use of extravagant decoration with animal pelts, feathers and wings. The use of leopard fur, animal pelts and wings on their back and shield made them look very unusual. They looked much larger than a normal human and were fearsome in the face of their enemies in a period of warfare where to be seen bigger and mightier mattered most rather than trying to hide by camouflage. Delis' clothing varied among each other and also changed through the course of time. Normally, they had a leopard fur cap decorated with eagle feathers on their head. They had leopard pelt covering part of their back and swinging from their shoulder. On top of the leopard skin in their back there were two large eagle wings attached. Their large rectangular shield with tapering tip had one or two eagle wings attached to it as well. They wore fur trousers and yellow pointy boots with long spurs. Delis used swords, long thrusting spears, and protect themselves with shields. They too had a special mace called bozdogan attached to saddle on the left of their horses. Mace was a symbolic sign of might in the Turkish military culture. None used armor, as it was God's will that would determine their end. Delis rode short fatty horses and they therefore needed these long spurs. There are no records as to whether they carried extra horses with them like Akinsis did. The wings passed in the following years from Ottoman Delis to their enemies, mainly to those in the East European kingdoms. Poles, Russians and other Slavic nations adopted certain elements, which terrified them for years, from Deli clothing. Delis' extravagant clothing with wings, feathers, pelts and furs were imitated in a very stylized way by the famous Polish winged hussars in the 16th and 17th centuries. The use of eagle wings is noted as a custom deriving from Turkey passing to the Polish winged hussars.